I want to give you some tips today for setting up your job sites for the start of construction. I want to give you some tips today for actually setting up your job sites from the very beginning, before construction begins, to make sure your job sites are safe, that they're secure, that you're protecting your property and your trees, and you're making sure you're not draining water and silt off that property. So let me get into a few of those specifics. First, let's talk about this job site safety fence here. You know, a job site fence can make a big difference in security, but it also gives a really good impression to people who might be a future client walking down that street, because your site just looks so much better with that job site fence and that green filter fabric on the outside that kind of obscures the view of what's going on behind there. It's really important to make sure that if you have heavy rains and you've got a job site where the vegetation has been stripped off, that you don't let that mud get into streets or on neighbors' properties. So starting off a job before any construction happens with silt fence, to make sure that all those areas are fenced off and that silt and mud can't get off your property, that's really important. And of course, you can also get into big trouble if you don't do that and you had a problem. The other thing that I think is really important is to make sure you've got good signage on your jobs, and you also want to make sure you've done a good job of containing trash on your job sites. I'm not a huge fan of dumpsters, because those dumpsters, because you can't tell what's in them, they have a tendency to fill up with non-construction related trash. So I like to build my own on my job sites. You can make these out of a couple sheets of plywood. They're nice and low so you can see what's in them. You can have them emptied once a week so things stay nice and clean. You also want to keep a trash can that's specific for lunch trash on a job site. That way you don't have flies or insects or birds coming in to get that trash out of your trash piles. A couple of things I want to mention. You really want to do a good job of protecting your trees on your job site. So whenever possible, we like to do a tree fence around those trees with a nice deep bed of mulch around those tree roots. And then if there's some trees that are in a more active job site zone, we want to wrap those with 2x4s to make sure those trees are getting protected. They don't get scraped by somebody walking by, or certainly even worse, a bobcat driving by. Let's talk about a job shack. Not every job is going to warrant a construction manager's office, but on bigger jobs or longer jobs, we like to drop in a job office so we can really have a good space to work. In Texas, we also like to have those air conditioned so that you've got a place where the guys can go to take a break. Another great thing to do is to build a protection zone for all those miscellaneous materials you need on the job site. A first aid kit, a fire extinguisher, all the kind of miscellaneous supplies that might be needed. And that's also a good spot that you can lock up a job box. You know, a job box is a great spot to hide the tools so that a thief doesn't know what's in there. You can lock them up really tight and secure when you leave at night. Hey, if you follow these tips and best practices for setting up your job, you'll end up with a safer job site, one that's cleaner, that your subcontractors and your clients really know that you're organized and effective at your jobs. And of course, if you have a prospect who pops in, they're really going to see the level of management they're going to get with your company. For more tips like this, visit my blog at mattreisinger.com. Otherwise, follow me on Instagram or Twitter. We'll see you next time.